Good morning. Shall we pray? Gracious and Almighty God, with thankful hearts we gather to celebrate 50 years anniversary of Anguilla House of Assembly. We give you praise for your faithfulness throughout these 50 years and for the leaders who have served with dedication in shaping our beloved nation. We ask your continued guidance upon this honorable house. Grant wisdom to Madam Speaker as she leads this honorable house. May the members unite in purpose and courage to uphold justice, compassion, to serve all the people of Anguilla with integrity and humility. Lord, as we reflect on the past with gratitude, help us to embrace the future with hope, always seeking peace and prosperity and the well-being of our nation. May your blessings remain upon this assembly, upon the people of Anguilla, now and for all generations to come. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chaplain. We remain standing for the national song. Thank you. You may be seated. Honorable Deputy Governor, and Acting Governor, Mr. Perrin Bradley. Honorable Premier, Cora Richardson Hodge. Honorable Ministers of Government, elected members of the Anguilla House of Assembly, past leaders, the Commissioner of Police, our past speakers, past elected members, family of past elected members, staff, officers, speakers, youth parliamentarians, protocol officers, the people of Anguilla, members of our clergy, good morning. It is my distinct honor to stand before you to welcome you to this opening ceremony, this milestone for all of us in Anguilla, the 50th anniversary of this Anguilla House of Assembly. 1976 to 2026, under the theme, Honoring Our Past, Shaping Our Future. We gather this morning to honor our past. Throughout this week, we will pay tribute to who we call our legacy builders. And you'll see from the display at the back of the house and throughout the house that this week, this house will be an open house for the people of Anguilla, especially our young people, to visit and to look at our legacy builders. The members, the speakers, the officers who since 1976 gave Anguilla a parliament of its own. And I recognize our Honorable High Court Justice, and I also recognize our Speaker Lister from Bermuda, one of the oldest continuous parliaments, as he prides it, the oldest Bermuda parliament, which is 400 years old. And you'll recall from yesterday in his presentation, his words were quite impactful. As I said to him, as an outsider looking in, he commended Anguilla for creating a parliament that arose from our own struggle in the 60s. And I think that resonated, that this is one of the few, if not the only parliament that would have been created out of the 1967 historical sequence. And that is meaningful for us today, Speaker Lister, because we've invited our own historian who served as a speaker in the past. And I must say that this was led by a committee of young people, chaired by Mr. Merrick Richardson, and by reason of default, Mr. Carter, you're here as our speaker and our historian. So we get two for the price of one. And I'm looking forward to that. As we gather to look ahead to this house, we look forward to a house that is stronger, that is more independent, and ever worthy of the people it serves. I urge you, if you hadn't attended yesterday, that you should log in and listen to the sermon that was delivered by the Reverend Lindsay Richardson. It was profound, it was impactful, and he's called on all of us at this cost to determine what kind of house do we want. That resonated. That is shaping the future. So I welcome you warmly to this ceremony and to the week of celebrations. I thank God for all of you. I thank God for our leaders and our legacy builders. And may God bless Anguilla. I will now move right into our program, and I urge upon you to consider that the protocol has already been adopted, so we can proceed. And we've invited one of our younger members, and you'll see the features of young people this week, because this is not a house for now, this is a house for the next 50 years and the next 50 years. And we invite Miss Uniqua Romney to deliver a poem. Please welcome Miss Uniqua.
Good morning, all. My name is Uniqua Romney Dupini. 50 years honoring our past, shaping our future. 50 years. Half a century of voices rising, of hands lifting, of leaders debating, of people deciding who we are and who we will become. But our story did not begin 50 years ago. It began before these walls, long before microphones and motions, long before votes were counted and laws were written. It began with the resilient people, settlers who arrived on this rock, not seeking comfort, but seeking freedom. People who built a nation with faith in God, strength in community, and determination within their hearts. For generations, Anguillians stood firm. Throughout droughts and storms, through hardship and uncertainty, through moments when others overlooked us, yet we never overlooked ourselves. And when history called, we answered. We answered with courage, we answered with conviction, we answered with the belief that Anguilla's future should be shaped by Anguillians. Today, we honor those that came before us, the visionaries, the builders, the revolutionaries, the public servants, the men and women who sat in these chambers and carried the hopes of our nation upon their shoulders. Because democracy is not built within a day. It is built decision by decision, generation by generation, opposition, government, yet we still come together as one, Anguilla strong. These debates shape us and create our political bonds, for though we may sit on different sides, we stand on the same island. We look upon the same sea. We dream beneath the same sky. And perhaps there is truth in what we often say. There is nothing that brings a country together quite like boat racing and politics. One tests our speed upon the water, the next tests our wisdom upon the flow. Yet both remind us that we move forward best when we pull together. Today, as we celebrate 50 years of parliamentary democracy, we do not merely look back, we look ahead. To the future lawyers, teachers, entrepreneurs, artists, nurses, builders, and parliamentarians, to the dreamers who will one day sit in these very same seats. The future is not something we inherit. The future is something we create, and every law passed, every voice heard, every act of service helps shape the Anguilla that is yet to come. So let us honor our past by not simply remembering it, but by learning from it, Let us shape our future, but not by waiting for it, but by building it. And may the next 50 years be marked by unity over division, self-service over self-interest, hope over fear, and progress for all. Because the story of Anguilla is still being written, and together we hold the pen. Thank you and happy anniversary of 50 years of parliamentary democracy.
Thank you, Ms. Romney. I think you had a line in your poem that says, "We dream beneath the same sky." Yes. We dream beneath the same sky. That stuck. We dream beneath the same sky because, as I say to both sides, we want the same thing for Anguilla. We just disagree maybe on how we get there, but we dream beneath the same sky. Thank you for that. I'm now going to introduce our keynote speaker. And as normal, you would give a bio. I have none for Mr. Carty because he speaks for himself. And I would never do justice to do the bio, but I do want to make some commendation in respect of his history. And because of Speaker Lister's correlation yesterday that we were born out of that history, it is very compelling when you look at the wall that the revolutionaries were also our parliamentarians. And that's really profound. But as Ms. Uniqua Romney said, boat racing is also part of our history. And we were able to take some parliamentarians out by boat last week to see the boat racing. And I did test one of the members on the boat with me to ask, light and peace, of course. We took some parliamentarians out and I challenged some of the Anguillian members, can you tell them the story of why we have boat racing? That's very important. A lot of us may not know. Mr. Carty has done a production which I think we still have not done justice to, Nothing Baffling. And I think every school child needs to follow the history. I see Ms. Gomes, Ms. Gomes, Sir Emil's daughter. We all need to remember our history because it's intertwined in our politics and it's intertwined in who we are. So please allow me to welcome Mr. Carty, our historian, our past parliamentarian, to take us through our history.
Madam Speaker, Honorable Premier, Leader of Government Business, Honorable members of the opposition, thank you. Honorable members past and present, invited guests and all who listen virtually, good morning. I was pleasantly surprised to receive this invitation to give the keynote address on the occasion of the House's 50th anniversary. When Venetia called to ask me to do this, I quizzed her twice on separate occasions to ascertain who exactly approved of my selection, given the fact that there were many other members more qualified than I for this task. On learning the full details of how that process was conducted and a selection made, I deem it a high honor to share a few thoughts with all honorable members in the first instance and with all citizens who care to listen. And thank you for the invitation. Madam Speaker, I must say, having served the House as a nominated member and later as Speaker, that the improvement in the administration, efficiency and effectiveness, and most especially transparency of the House of today versus what it used to be is literally stunning. While citizens go about their everyday lives who may never or even care about the back of the house operations of this House, to use a hotel industry term, and why they matter, the positive developments obtained so recently in this and the last House are truly remarkable and important. The late Sir Dwight Venner, former governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, used to say quite often that legislators are given a peculiar power to pass laws that can put citizens in jail and enable the government to put its hands in their pockets. He was quite right in saying it in so direct a way. And it speaks to the essential responsibility of the House, which demands that it be able to show the public what it is up to, what is being discussed, what has been said, and by whom, and what has been decided and voted on. The ability of this House to communicate those essential underpinnings of a democratic society so effectively is truly an amazing achievement, and I congratulate you all for this. Madam Speaker, during my own tenure as Speaker, I was invited by the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association to a conference in London on climate change, along with parliamentarians from across the Commonwealth. On the very first day of the conference, the House of Lords was sitting just across the street debating a bill on climate change, sent to the House by the House of Commons. Our meeting went into the early evening, and I was amazed at the announcements by the chairman that for those of us who were interested, copies of Hansard of the House of Lords debate would be available. As members know, Hansard is the term used to describe the minutes of Parliament. It is a detailed account of what was said and by whom. The House of Lords at the time had 300 plus members, and yet at around 8 o'clock that evening, I had a printed, bound copy of the debate held that very day, complete with records of voting. My astonishment was simply based on the reality that my own House, with 7 elected members, 2 nominated and 2 ex officio members, would hardly get minutes written and approved, and we call them minutes, not Hansard, in weeks and sometimes months, as the sole clerk of the Assembly had more duties preparing and printing the Gazette, which had nothing to do with the House. I go further to say, Madam Speaker, that whenever I asked for a motion for the minutes to be approved, sometimes weeks after the meeting, members would find some other preoccupation to attend to while absent-mindedly voting aye, so that we can move on and deal with what we really wanted to discuss that day. Hardly anyone ever read the minutes, as we had all forgotten what was said on that day weeks ago. Contrast that time to today. The House now has an AI Hansard application, which provides instant access and accessible records of the House and who said what and when. This high-tech instantaneous Hansard is linked to a website built not only as an information hub, but one designed to improve access, transparency, and public participation in the legislative process. Every resident, researcher, student, and citizen are now able to learn how the House works and follow its activities with ease. Madam Speaker, this remarkable technological advance for one of the smallest parliaments in the Commonwealth, made even more remarkable, I might add, as it was engineered by local digital and computer expertise, was clearly articulated in your article in the Parliamentarians edition of Issue 1 this year, 2026. Allow me to say that I was tickled pink, a dumb expression if I might add, to read an article on our House, published for the first time in the Parliamentarian. For those who may not know, the Parliamentarian is an excellent publication produced by the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association every quarter and distributed globally, consisting of articles, analyses, and bibliographical information on parliamentary, political, and constitutional developments across the Commonwealth, written by speakers, ministers, members of parliament, and academic experts. It is a highly regarded publication and brilliantly edited. So to see your article, Madam Speaker, explaining to the rest of the CPA our achievement in digital information, which allows our small parliament the ability to be utterly transparent in its deliberations and process, providing copy by transcript of what was said in real time and automatically generating Hansard immediately upon conclusion of proceedings was seriously impressive. Indeed, I can supplant the silly tickled pink expression with one used locally many years ago, especially by citizens of West End. That was dirty greatness. To quote your own words, Madam Speaker, quote, "This system advances the core values that must underpin any healthy democracy: accountability, transparency, and fairness," unquote. That is exactly right. Underscored, emphasis added. Madam Speaker, we have come a long way since 1976. When deliberations of the leaders of the revolution were held down in the old courthouse, now the Statistics Department, as a peacekeeping committee, and then as an elected body, after our first constituency elections were held in 1968. When the 1976 Constitution was enacted, a speaker was provided for, and this position was filled by Her Majesty's Commissioner, an appointee from the United Kingdom. When the commissioner position of commissioner was upgraded to that of governor, it was thought unseemly under a Westminster-style system for the representatives of the Crown to preside over the Assembly. And so the position of Speaker was filled in 1982 on an ad hoc basis by the Director of Finance, the late Mr. Franklin Connor. They met on benches and later chairs around a semicircular varnished plywood table to discuss and debate the way forward for a fledgling society, while the small gallery sat behind them on simple wooden benches with no backs, reminiscent of the way we learned in dusty primary schools of the past. The space was shared by the Magistrates' Court and the High Court when it sat, and was the venue of significant drama, not only in the early days of the Revolution, but right through the 1970s, 80s, and 90s. Indeed, I would like to suggest here that at some point in the future, when more modern facilities are built to hold the functions of government, that building be classified as a historic site and refurbished back to its original form to include the semicircular plywood table, the dais upon which judges and our first speakers sat, with the rustic benches for the gallery. It is truly a historic site, even without the lablale tree, now long gone, which stood just outside the western door, and whose branches and leaves would have heard and witnessed some serious politics over the years. It is in that building, with creeping constitutional reform, that we finally elected on January 18th, 1985, our first full-time speaker, the intellectual father of the revolution, the Honorable Atlin Harrigan. It may be interesting to note a symbolic decision that Atlin made in his early days as Speaker. As the 1976 Constitution formally adopted a Westminster-style framework for governance, including a parliamentary system modeled on the British House of Commons, to include a Speaker, it was expected that Atlin, as Speaker, would adopt traditional symbols. Traditionally, the Speaker's position was so exalted that he or she was entitled to be robed in a black gown with embroidered with gold cloth and wear a full neck length woolen wig used by judges of the High Court. This costume, I imagine, was a symbol of his complete authority over the House and is actually still worn by many speakers across the Commonwealth and in our region, and incredibly even in some parliaments in Africa. A well-meaning British official who was an ardent supporter of Anguilla's cause offered to gift at his own expense a full speaker's regalia to Atlin for his new position. Atlin thanked him sincerely, but never accepted the gift, preferring instead the decent, respectful attire of a jacket and tie, in keeping with the humility and the absence of elitism that so defined Anguillan culture then, and I trust still does. Thankfully, his successors, male and female, have retained the tradition of not donning those robes. And I can say clearly that had I been required to wear that gig as a necessary part of my appointment, I would have respectfully declined the honor. By the way, it should be noted that in recent years, the Speaker of the House of Commons itself no longer wears a wig. God bless Atlin. Madam Speaker, had digital technology been available to our House since 1976, our historians and calypsonians and commentators would have had a field day with topical material. You should remember that in the early days, when Radio Anguilla was the only media, broadcasts of the House were akin to a soap opera, like The Bold and the Beautiful. Everybody listened, and the House had its moments. Like when one honorable member, seriously agitated by the lack of progress at the agricultural station, then known colloquially as the plot, rose to exhort the House that what the plot needed most was some good male bulls and some good female cows. I think we can all forgive his minor confusion that cows were always female and bulls male. Then there was the member who rose and swore on the Bible his full allegiance to Her Majesty's heirs and successors, so help me God. Here too we can also forgive him for meaning no insult to Her Majesty and falling afoul of the many idiosyncrasies of the English language. And then there was the occasion of the late Queen's visit to Anguilla in 1994, when the members of the House, myself included, were huddled together in a small anteroom next to the House, awaiting the Queen's arrival for her address to the Assembly. Thankfully, one very observant member noted that another very well-dressed member had completely forgotten to button up the fly of his pants. We narrowly avoided a serious breach of lèse-majesté and parliamentary etiquette. By the way, Madam Speaker, although I am unsure if this House is in formal session, I still intend to claim some form of parliamentary privilege and will decline and refuse, if asked, to reveal the identities of the three aforementioned honorable gentlemen. But we've also had our darker times. Harsh words have been spoken. Tempers in debate have flared to unacceptable levels from time to time, one resulting in a physical altercation. Some members have been physically removed from the chamber by the police before we had a sergeant at arms. And I myself can be included in that dubious honor, being removed from the chamber for the offense of swearing myself in as the second nominated member. in a matter that eventually reached the High Court. However, Madam Speaker, in my own defense, for the 5 years that I served as Speaker, during which my frustration and annoyance at unacceptable debate caused me to suspend proceedings on one occasion, I can with satisfaction say that I never found it necessary to order the removal and withdrawal of any member from the House at any time. Bolted behind the Speaker's chair for all to see is a very poignant symbol for us to ponder. It is a thoughtful gift to the House from former Governor Brian Canty and is a carving expertly done by Mr. Courtney Devonish of the three dolphins representing strength, unity, and endurance, carved into a sawn limb of the mahogany tree, which stood for centuries at the quarter's crossroads, where the first stoplights now stand. The famous old tree, which fell from extreme old age in 1971, was itself a meeting place and an assembly of sorts for a generation of a long gone time and era. Although the gift was made in 1992, it only received the prominence it deserved from after post-hurricane renovations to the house in 2020. But now, it is thankfully in a well-positioned place, but not merely as a decoration. Symbols are important in any society's advancement, no matter how large or small. And our own house, and those who have been, are, and will be elected to serve in the future, should be reminded not only of its function, but also of its symbolic significance. There is a line in our national song, or national prayer, if you prefer, which sings, "God grant our leaders wisdom and grace." While that supplication could apply to all leaders in every sphere of life, I believe it speaks subliminally to those who are sent by the people to this place to serve, and prayerfully demands of those so chosen to remember their responsibility to not just be political, as legitimate as that might be, but also to be thoughtful and wise, and to remember that grace is unmerited favor, which demands humility and a deep sense of duty. The dolphins circling with centrifugal force symbolize that, small as we are, our unshakable will to chart our own course, evidenced by our history in 1967, depends on a strength of purpose, a unity born of a spirit of community, and a capacity to endure, so clearly demonstrated by our ancestors who refused to leave the rock in times far more desperate than any we have seen. Strength, unity, and endurance. The House in its collective is a guardian of those principles and a symbol in and of itself for this. For it is peopled by people, sent here by the people, who must, through all the noise of varying opinion, now amplified by the political toxification of social media, keep focus on the banner of truth and right, and what is best for us all. The House, from its earliest days, was, and still is, empowered to make lasting changes to our island home. From its past, when the issues were formal separation from St. Kitts and Nevis, social security, to stimulating and regulating a brand new industry called tourism, and so many other issues, to today's agenda of food security, economic stimulation, environmental sustainability, geopolitical threats, the expansion of health and educational services, the development of digital technologies, and the negatives of antisocial issues, of gun violence, drug abuse, to name a few. Tomorrow's leaders will have their own issues, and we can only speculate what they might be. Needless to say, they too will need wisdom and grace. Madam Speaker, I believe that the story of the House over the last 50 years, and through it, the development of parliamentary practice in Anguilla, has secured an ethos of democratic governance of which we can be proud. This institution, despite the cut and thrust of political battle, which is a natural part of its DNA, has been made up of members past and present who have been faithful and are faithful in their own ways to the fundamental purpose of making Anguilla a better place. As far as I know, all of its members have entered its walls grounded in the abiding principles of the Christian religion and have, to the best of their giftings and abilities, to re-quote the passage used yesterday at the church service, done justice, shown mercy, and walked humbly with their God. We can only hope that that continues. The achievement of the previous House to this one in effectively establishing the youth parliament promises that the right baton will be passed to succeeding generations. So to borrow a saying, Madam Speaker, from my Jamaican roots, we may be little, but we're Talawa. So as small as we are, we can all, chamber and gallery, resolve this day, be it resolved, that we the people and all those whom we have sent to this House, both in government and in opposition, commit to live out our creed, to nurture and keep Anguilla blessed by God, to ensure it remains the land of the happy, noble and beauteous, and to dedicate our lives and loves to build our nation proud, strong, and free. And so, in parliamentary form, I put the question to us all. All those in favor, say aye. The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Always a speaker, always a historian. And Mr. Carty, thank you for reminding us of the history of the symbol, which, by the way, is very heavy, and I worry about it behind me. But that's not going to be the final home for this symbol. And one of the themes that we're going to talk about this week, as the week progresses, is in relation to the independence of this House. And that resonates with the question of Reverend Lindsay, what do you want for your house? Do you want a house that is independent, separate and apart? And those are going to be the conversations that we're going to have. And the hope one day is that the final home will be in Anguilla's own legislative building. And those in favor can say aye. Those that write the checks might be a bit concerned, but we are going to get there. At this time, we are focusing on the second limb of our theme, shaping the future. And when asked by the ABLE committee, who should we have to speak? I said, not the old ones. Let's stick with the young ones. This is their house. And we've invited our youth parliamentarians that we've already manifested will be in these chairs one day. We have our leader of opposition, Mr. Najib Davis, who so ably represented Anguilla at Westminster 2 years ago. and it's still on YouTube, and you should be very proud for his representation. He will be followed by Mr. Karani Vanterpool, who is our premier, and they need no introduction as well. They're in the community, they're on the boats, they're the front runners of our future, along with the other parliamentarians that are here. At this time, please welcome Mr. Najib David.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good morning, honorable members, distinguished guests, former parliamentarians, members of the public, and fellow Anguillians. It is both a privilege and a profound honor to stand before you as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Anguilla House of Assembly. Today is about more than making a passage of time. It is about celebrating 50 years of democracy in action, 50 years of service to the people, and 50 years of people determined to shape their own destiny. Our house has witnessed moments of triumph, moments of challenge, spirited debate, and historic decisions that have helped define the Anguilla we know today. Within these walls, leaders from different generations and different political perspectives have carried the responsibility of representing the hopes, concerns, and aspirations of our people. As we reflect on this milestone, we also honor those who came before us. We remember the visionaries whose courage and determination laid the foundation upon which this institution stands. They understood that democracy is not simply about governing. It is about listening, serving, and ensuring that every citizen has a voice. Their legacy reminds us that the strength of any parliament is not measured by the beauty of its chamber or the length of its history, but by the integrity of those who serve within it and the trust they earn from the people they represent. As one of Anguilla's young people, I am especially grateful for the opportunities that have been created for my generation to engage in leadership, civic participation, and nation building. The future of our democracy depends not only on experienced leaders, but also on us, young people who are willing to step forward with fresh ideas, respect for our history, and a genuine commitment to public service. The next 50 years will undoubtedly bring new challenges. Advances in technology, economic uncertainty, climate change, education, healthcare, and constitutional development will all require thoughtful leadership. But if the past 50 years have taught us anything, it is that Anguillians possess resilience, wisdom, and unwavering determination to overcome adversity together. May this anniversary serve not only as a celebration of what has been achieved, but as a renewed commitment to what is still possible. Let us continue building institutions that are transparent, accountable, and responsive to the needs of every citizen. Let us continue fostering respectful dialogue, even when opinions differ, because democracy flourishes when we seek understanding rather than division. To everyone who has served in this house, past and present, thank you for your dedication to our island and its people. Your service has helped strengthen the democratic traditions that we celebrate today. As we commemorate this golden anniversary, may we move forward with unity, purpose, and hope, inspired by the sacrifices of those who came before us, and motivated by the promise of generations yet to come. May God continue to bless this honorable house, and may he continue to bless the beautiful island of Anguilla. Thank you very much.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Premier, honorable members of the House of Assembly, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is a privilege to stand before you this morning as Premier of the Anguilla Youth Parliament to offer my sincere congratulations on the 50th anniversary of the Anguilla House of Assembly. For half a century, This institution has played a central role in the life of our nation. Within these walls, decisions have been made that have influenced the direction of Anguilla and affected the lives of generations. Every member who has served has, in one way or another, contributed to the story of our island. The theme for this celebration, honoring our past, shaping our future, reminds us that we cannot move forward without appreciating the very journey that brought us here. We owe a debt of gratitude to those whose vision and determination helped establish the democratic traditions we continue to uphold today. Their example challenges each and every one of us to approach public service with the same sense of responsibility. As Premier of the Youth Parliament, I see this milestone as an invitation to my generation. It encourages us to understand our history, to take an interest in how our country is being governed, and to recognize that the future of Anguilla will one day rest in our hands. The Youth Parliament exists because there are persons who believe that young voices deserve to be heard. And that belief gives us both an opportunity and responsibility. As we mark 50 years of the House of Assembly, I hope this celebration inspires young persons to see leadership as a way to serve their country. If we remain committed to building on the foundation that has already been laid, I am confident that Anguilla's future will be in capable hands. Congratulations once again to the House of Assembly on this remarkable achievement. May this anniversary be a celebration of everything that has been accomplished and a reminder that the work of building our nation continues. Thank you, and may God bless Anguilla.
And the young shall lead. And you must agree with me that these two young men in particular are exemplary examples of all things that are well in our community. And the way that they hold us to account, we must hold them to account. Remember their faces. Ensure that they return here in 20 years to lead. We are in good hands. At this point, I make apologies for the absence of the Leader of Opposition, and I invite the Honourable Member for Rhodes South, Mr. Hayden Hughes, to deliver his remarks.
Good morning. Protocol having been established and adopted. I'm here today, and as you know, I'm a man of very few words. And I've been given 3 minutes to speak, and I'll fall well within that 3 minutes. 3 minutes can never do justice to this momentous occasion. But yesterday, we were blessed by one of the most important messages I've heard in quite some time. And for those who did not hear, I urge you to go back and listen to the words of Reverend Lindsay Richardson in his message yesterday at the St. Augustine's Church, St. Mary's Church, my bad. He has said it all for us, and no issue was left unturned. We are here 50 years after the very first sitting post-revolution, and all of those who were elected, plus the very first speaker, is no longer with us. 50 years later, but a goal and dream of our very first leader of government business is still not yet achieved, and that is to become proud, strong, and free. We may have become proud, but until we are free, we cannot be strong, and we should not wait another 50 years to remove the yoke of colonialism. Now is the time, the right time, for us to forge ahead with a truly independent nation, an independent parliament, and a parliamentary building that is independent from the courts. This is the right time. We need to be placed in the position where we do not need the permission of a British civil servant in England, giving permission to a British civil servant in Anguilla to assent or approve to bills that are passed in this parliament. We need to evolve to the place where our Attorney General is elected by the people of Anguilla. As you know, the Attorney General sits in this honorable parliament and places bills on the other people. 2076 cannot creep up on us and still be where we are, stuck. So as I take my seat, I admonish all of us to heed the wise words of Reverend Leslie Richardson and fulfill the goals and aspirations of our forebears and become the proud, strong, and free people that God has given this land to. Thank you, and may God bless Anguilla.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Road South. At this time, I invite the Honorable Premier, the Minister of Finance, to deliver brief remarks.
Good morning. Good morning, Madam Speaker, members of this honorable House, esteemed guests, and the listening and viewing public. I adopt the protocol already established. I too wish to recognize and thank all of our parliamentarians, speakers, clerks, staff, and sergeants at arms of this House, past and present. I thank each one of you for your hard work, your contributions, and your representations in this honorable House over the many years. Your work represents the cornerstone of the foundations on which we now stand. Today, we celebrate 50 years of this House, a golden jubilee in the life of our democracy. Yet, while we mark the establishment of this institution in 1976, we know that its story began before these chambers were established. Its foundation was laid in 1967, when ordinary Anguillians displayed extraordinary courage during the revolution. The Anguilla Revolution was a declaration that the people of Anguilla would shape their own future and that decisions about this island would be made by those who call it home. It was a movement built on dignity, democracy, accountability, and the unwavering belief that every Anguillian deserved a voice. The revolution gave Anguilla its voice. Anguilla established its own governing institutions, and this House became the place where that voice is heard. In this honorable House, passion becomes policy. Conviction became legislation, and differences have been resolved through debate, dialogue, and democratic decision-making. Every member who has served in this chamber has inherited the sacred responsibility of protecting the freedoms won through the sacrifices of those who came before us. As we honor that legacy, we must also look ahead. Our constitutional journey continues, guided by the principle that the future of Anguilla must always be determined by the freely expressed wishes of its people. Self-determination is as much about constitutional status as it is about building a country that is strong enough, confident enough, and united enough to shape its own destiny. The next 50 years call us to think even bigger. We must build an Anguilla with a dynamic and diversified economy that embraces innovation, technology, renewable energy, and sustainable tourism. We must build an Anguilla where every child receives a world-class education. Every young person believes opportunity exists at home, and every citizen can fulfill their God-given potential. You have heard our youth parliaments, and from their representations, I can tell you our future is in good hands. We must build institutions that are transparent, trusted, and efficient. An island that leads in climate resilience, protects its natural beauty, and confidently advances its interests throughout the Caribbean and across the world. Most importantly, let us build an Anguilla united, not because we always agree, but because we always place our country above ourselves. When future generations gather to celebrate 100 years of this honorable house, may they say that we did more than remember the legacy we inherited. May they say that we strengthened it, expanded it, and passed it on stronger than we found it. May God continue to bless this honorable house, and may God continue to bless the people of Anguilla. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Premier, for those words of encouragement. At this point, you'll see that our clock is still in effect. Brevity is everything that we strive for, so we won't keep you very long. We have the closing remarks by Mr. Proctor, but before I call him, I do want to tell you a bit of what's happening this week, because sometimes we miss it on social media. On Tuesday, the parliamentarians, past and present, are going to visit our schools, those that are still open and those that will welcome us. Some schools will also come through the house for an open house, for a tour. You can tour after and just look at the legacy walls as well. On Wednesday, that is the actual event that I want to encourage some competitiveness. And I'm going to put on the spot two persons that I know love trivia, our DG, loves trivia, I heard, and Ms. Farah Banks, our Director of Radio Broadcast Services, loves trivia. We're having a trivia night because I think the public thinks parliamentarians are just boring, uptight, wear a tie all day. We're going to have some fun on Wednesday night while learning our history. The Department of Youth and Culture, through Mr. Neil Gomes, is arranging our teams. I encourage you to reach out to Ms. Proctor so that she can connect you, but we'd like to have some teams. I don't know if we're allowed to have our we're not allowed to have them. They'll have a lifeline if they need them. So you won't be allowed to be on teams, but we do want you to show up and support the younger persons. We're trying to encourage protocol to form their own team, and the members are encouraged to be here on Wednesday evening at 6:30. On Thursday morning, we're going to visit the senior citizens' homes, all 4 of them. And I want you as well, if you've missed the time and would like to join us, even if you're the children of our parliamentarians, if there's a home that you'd like to visit, please connect with Ms. Proctor. She'll give you the time. You are invited. Don't feel that this week is just for parliamentarians. On the contrary, they may say they're very busy, but they're going to be there. But we want you to show up and support them. And on Friday at 3 p.m., 4 p.m., that will be our closeout and special sitting. On Friday evening, our parliamentarians that are going to be awarded, our true foundational legacy builders, will be awarded. It will be a grand reunion. We're going to see families that we might not have seen in a long time. It'll be a good time to reconnect. There's going to be light refreshments. There's going to be music. We do have some fun stuff, but we want you to be here on time Friday at 4 p.m. I'm now going to invite Mr. Proctor, who, with much hesitation, was delegated the role, because everyone will know he doesn't say very much, but he had no choice in the matter. He will deliver our vote of thanks.
Good morning to everyone. I would like to adopt the protocol already established. And on this occasion, I would like to, well, we know a big part of the closing remarks is the vote of thanks, is to recognize those persons and entities that have made this opening possible. And I will start off by thanking the members of the Planning Committee, which has been chaired by the Honorable Member for Road North, accompanied by the Honorable Single Island Electoral District Member, Mr. Bryan, Ms. Proctor, my Deputy Clerk, as well as Ms. Claudia Stenhouse of the Anguilla Youth Parliament, and I just missed someone, and Ms. Yusufan Brooks, of all people to miss, because she's been very, very, very active. So thank you all for your hard work. And Kayla Richardson. And the Kayla Richardson. Yes, thank you. A special thank you as well to the chaplain, Apostle Lucian McDonough, for the prayers, to Mr. Michael Dumper Martin for the renditions of the national anthem and national song. Ms. Uniqua Romney Dupany for a very, very, very inspirational piece. Thank you for that. And to former Speaker, Mr. David Carter, for his historical review. And Mr. Carter is one of those persons that if there's anything you want to understand in terms of how the House would have worked, that is the person to call. And I call on him quite frequently. Thank you, Mr. Carter. To our youth parliamentarians, Mr. Najik Davis, the leader of the opposition, and Mr. Karani Vanterpool, our youth parliament premier, thank you very much for your words. To the honorable member for Road South for delivery of the remarks on behalf of the leader of the opposition, thank you. And to our premier and minister of finance for her remarks as well, thank you, premier. To Speaker Lister, I don't know if a dear friend, thank you for coming all the way from Bermuda to share this moment with us. We value your friendship and we value the friendship of the Parliament of Bermuda. Thank you. To the drummers from the Seventh-day Adventist Pathfinders, thank you very much for bringing us in. And to our past parliamentarians, past House of Assembly staff, thank you for being here and thank you for your service over the years. To the staff of the House of Assembly, I can't say enough thank yous to you for making this happen and for keeping the Assembly running. And we don't see our IT people, they're behind there, they're working, they're making sure that everything works. Thank you to you as well, and for our invited guests. And yeah, we got this. Yeah, but there's someone that I want to make, a group that I want to make sure that they don't forget, and that is our protocol team. We've seen them, we saw them yesterday at the church service. We see a small representation here today. We had a workshop last week with parliamentarians from around the Caribbean and the UK. And their professionalism and dedication to their work, I want to thank you for that. And this event, the previous event, would not have been possible without that dedication and without that professionalism. And I want to place my office's gratitude on record, my office's gratitude to you for that. And in closing, I don't get to say things too often, but I would like to reiterate a statement made by Madam Speaker in her anniversary message. And I think this is a good, solid one that resonated with me, and I hope that it resonates with you as well. Honoring the past also means taking up its unfinished work. The promise of 1976 was never meant to stand still. Our task now is to build a house that is truly independent, open, and modern, a parliament that stands on its own foundation, and one our young people will be proud to inherit and one day to lead. That's what it means to shape our future. So thank you, and let's get to the task at hand.
Thank you. Thank you. Invited guests, who gets to thank the thanker? I want to thank Mr. Proctor because he's so unassuming. Most people don't know what he does. He doesn't tell them what he does. And I've had to learn that there's a whole world that goes on behind there that is led by Mr. Proctor. He has mobilized his staff. They have utmost respect for him. But what we don't know is what happens when he's overseas. Mr. Proctor and his team has really earned the respect of his parliamentary colleagues abroad. Speaker Lister will bear me out. And his vision for what our house should look like is something he walks around with in his head, but we've promised him before he goes off to do the fun things in his life that I won't tell you what those are when he retires from here, we have to deliver on some of the visions that he has for the work of the parliamentarians. We are a small body. but we work across the aisle on various committees. We are led by Mr. Proctor. He doesn't like me saying that he's the boss, but he's the boss. He delegates what we want to accomplish for our house. And as Reverend Lindsay said, this week we must ponder on what do we want for our house going forward. Before we leave, I also want to acknowledge that this event, the culmination of this event, actually predated our House of Assembly. It predated to the previous House, and I want to acknowledge members from the previous House that are here that participated in planning a 45th anniversary, and because of COVID, it hadn't been delivered. So we would wish to acknowledge and thank the work of the previous Speaker, and the previous House, and the previous members that had already started the train in motion. And with that, I wish you a safe journey. Please socialize and make sure you participate this week. Thank you for coming.